Imagine this, a sermon that told thousands of young believers they were likely going to hell. Well, it actually happened. It went viral not for being warm and fuzzy, but for being just brutally direct. It's famously known as The Shocking Message by Paul Washer. And in this explainer, we're going to break down the arguments behind one of the most controversial sermons in modern American Christianity.
So, right out of the gate, he drops this absolute bombshell. Now, this isn't just a clever hook to get your attention, it's the core assertion the entire message is built to defend. And here's the really wild part. He's not saying this to outsiders. He's saying it to a room packed with thousands of young people who already call themselves Christians.
And that's really the first thing you have to understand here. The claim is so shocking because of who he's talking to. Washer isn't preaching to non-believers, trying to get them to convert. He's speaking directly to the church, to people who feel totally confident in their salvation, and he's telling them that their confidence might be a tragic, tragic mistake.
So, the natural question is why? I mean, why would he say something so drastic? To really get it, we have to first understand the problem that Washer believes is running rampant in American Christianity.
He doesn't mince words at all. He frames this problem in the strongest possible terms, calling it the American heresy. Now, heresy is a really powerful word, right? It means a belief that strays so far from the core teachings that it's actually considered dangerous. And Washer's whole point is that this kind of belief has taken root in America and has misled millions of people.
So what is this great heresy? Well, here it is. It's the belief that just praying a prayer one time, asking Jesus into your heart, is your guaranteed ticket to heaven. He argues this whole idea is actually a pretty modern invention, something you're not going to find in the Bible or in the early history of the church.
And this really shows you the core contrast he's making. On one side, you have the model he's critiquing. Salvation is a single event that happened in the past, something you could put on a calendar. But on the other side, you have the model he says is biblical, salvation as an ongoing process, a whole life of turning from sin and believing. The key difference he's pointing to is between a one-time decision and a lifelong direction.
Okay, to really hammer this point home, he uses this incredibly powerful analogy. He asks everyone to imagine being hit by a massive 30-ton logging truck. He says it is absolutely, physically impossible to have an encounter with something that enormous, that powerful, and then just, walk away unchanged. The impact would be total, it would be absolute and permanent. You would be fundamentally different after that, whether you wanted to be or not. It's not something you could just brush off and forget about 5 minutes later.
And this analogy leads right into the central question of the entire sermon. If God is infinitely more powerful than a logging truck, how can so many people claim to have had this life-shattering encounter with him, but show absolutely no evidence of the impact? How can their lives look exactly the same as they did before? How can they still, as he puts it, walk like the world, talk like the world, and love the music of the world?
So where is he getting all this? Is it just his opinion? No. He grounds his entire argument in one specific passage from the Bible, Matthew chapter 7. He basically presents this text as the ultimate definitive test for telling the difference between a genuine faith and just a claim of faith.
And he breaks down his analysis using 4 key metaphors he finds in this passage. You've got the 2 gates, the 2 trees, the 2 claims people make, and the 2 builders. And as we're about to see, each one of these contrasts is used to hammer home the exact same point about what real salvation looks like.
First up, the 2 paths. The sermon argues that the narrow gate isn't just about Jesus being the only way. It's also about the path that comes after. The lifestyle of a true believer, he argues, is meant to be fundamentally different. It's more disciplined, it's distinct from the wide, easy path that, let's be honest, most of the world is on.
And that idea of a different path leads directly to his next major point, which is all about being known by their fruit. I mean, if the path is different, then the life you live on that path has to look different too, right? So what's the visible evidence of this changed life? According to the sermon, the Bible calls this evidence fruit.
He leans really heavily on this direct quote from Matthew 7. And the idea is actually pretty simple. You can't separate what a person is on the inside from what a person does on the outside. A person's life, their actions, their priorities, their fruit, that is the undeniable evidence of their true spiritual nature. Just like an apple tree is naturally going to produce apples.
So this is how he lays out the distinction, very clearly. According to his logic, true faith will inevitably produce good fruit, a life that's marked by turning from sin and pursuing holiness. In contrast, a life that looks identical to the world, one full of bad fruit, is presented as evidence of a false faith, no matter what decision someone might have made years ago.
This leads him to completely reject a really popular modern idea, the carnal Christian. That's the idea that someone can be genuinely saved, but just keep living a life dominated by sin. Washer says, no way. He argues this is an unbiblical category we've invented to make people feel comfortable in their disobedience. In his interpretation, the Bible only gives you two options. You're either a good tree producing good fruit, or you're a bad tree producing bad fruit. There is no third category.
All right, this brings us to the sermon's final metaphor, and it really brings the entire message to a powerful conclusion. It's the parable of the two builders. This represents two different foundations, and ultimately, two completely different destinies.
Now, the critical distinction here isn't about hearing the message. Notice that both builders hear the exact same words. The difference is in the doing. The wise builder hears God's words and acts on them, building his life on the solid rock of obedience. The foolish builder hears the words but doesn't do anything about them, so he builds on the shifting sand of just saying the right things. So when the storms of life and judgment come, only the house built on the rock is going to stand.
And here is Washer's crucial interpretation, maybe the most controversial part of all. This parable, he says, isn't about a wise Christian versus a foolish Christian who just, loses some of the reward. He argues it's a story about a genuinely saved person versus an unsaved person. The house that stands, that represents true salvation. The house that completely collapses in the storm, he says that represents a false profession being exposed on the day of judgment, leading to hell.
And so the entire sermon boils down to this direct personal question. It shifts the focus completely away from a past decision and onto your present reality. The message isn't asking, hey, did you pray a prayer once? It's asking, right now, today, what is your life actually built on? Is it the solid rock of obedience, or is it the shifting sand of mere words? It's a final challenge, and it's designed to force you to look at yourself, based not on a distant memory, but on the hard evidence of your life right now.